Hello, you're listening to Work From Home, a Lower Street podcast where we help you stay connected, productive and sane whilst working remotely. I'm Alex.
And I'm Harry.
Today, we're continuing our conversation from last Friday, where we talked about meditation and self-care. In this episode, we'll be talking about office equipment, desks, chairs, earphones and headphones. So, from meditation and therapy back into the world of consumer capitalism.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, that's one thing I really wanted to talk about. All the links in this thing, so it's WFHBestPractices.com. They list a lot of really great services and products, and we'll talk through some of them, but a lot of them are linked to Amazon, and I would implore everybody listening to not purchase these items from Amazon. Jeff Bezos does not need your help. Independent retailers, your local shops, they need your help, and that's where you should be buying this stuff, or at least that's what I suggest. It might cost you more, it might take longer for you to get it, it might be less convenient, but Jeff doesn't need your support right now. Yeah, the desk setup. Alex, what's your desk setup at home?
I'm very much making do. I have a desk. I do need to upgrade, and one of the first things here is for a standing desk, and I think that would be a great idea because I do spend way too much time just sitting down, or even when I do go out, I go out cycling, which is still sitting down even if it's outside. So having the ability to stand up would be great. And there's a link here to some sort of autonomous standing desk, but you can get them from IKEA or, British Heart stores, whatever the name is for those. There's one of those just around the corner from me. They have all sorts of furniture there, and it's, once used. But I do think it's a good idea to be able to stand up every now and then. I have all of the electronic toys, the dual monitor and the audio interfaces and microphones and the mouse, which is red and lights up and extra fast for editing. But I think a desk is something that's a bit neglected, as are chairs, which brings us on to the next link. But that's for a Herman Miller Aeron chair, which, unless you want to take out a mortgage.
Exactly. If you're buying a Herman Miller chair, you're doing very well. So congratulations. But they are awesome. I used to have one in an office I used to work in, and they were pretty sweet. But I've got the John Lewis equivalent of the Herman Miller fancy swizzle chair, which is a couple of £100 rather than 1,000 or whatever it is.
It's one of those things that I think, especially if you were previously in an office, working externally to the house, and now you're back at home, it kind of forces you to examine all this stuff that you never really maybe use for its intended purpose, or you don't even have anything for this purpose. We talked about I think it was episode 1 of this show, we talked about less than ideal work from home setups, so people using dogs as desks and what they call wicker baskets. I think it's something that you do need to consider, especially when it's stuff you've lived with for a while, so you may not even question the fact that you have a cheapo IKEA desk that isn't actually high enough, so you're slouched. You're
slumping. Exactly. I think it's really important. I think having a designated workspace that isn't confused with other stuff is really important to kind of have it, being able to get in the zone of work and then being able to kind of switch off afterwards. I think it's really important to not. I've fallen into the trap of working from my lap on the sofa, or even rolling over in bed and checking emails before I go and have breakfast, and it's just really not helpful because everything bleeds into each other, and you have this sort of mixed association with all of these things. I think it's really good from a mindset perspective to just come to your designated workspace, have a decent setup that's comfortable and it's productive and it's ergonomic and all that kind of stuff. It links back, I guess, a little bit to Christian Henson's the composer's guide to working from home that you mentioned before, where he sort of talks about not wearing pajamas. I think it's a really important part as well. It's about getting into that mindset as you sit down to work. And if you're kind of dressed casually, you're going to be sort of approaching work casually. So I think investing in your home office, I think, is really healthy. Whether or not you need a 34-inch LG curved ultra-wide monitor, I'm not 100% convinced.
I would like one. I don't think I need one.
We would all love one, don't get me wrong. But yeah, not sure we do. And then the Logitech mouse, I can highly recommend. I actually have the MX Master 2S, so the model before this. So I've now got mouse envy. But it's really great. It's got it's super comfortable to use, but it's also got a load of kind of buttons and extra things that you can, especially for us doing audio editing and so on, you can use all the extra buttons on there to kind of Do you use any sort of extra features on a mouse? Do you have any extra kind of shortcuts or things like that?
Not on the mouse I have at the moment. I use because my keyboard has a numpad. That's what I use for all of my shortcuts, where I have all my plugins and functions and all that sort of stuff. It would be nice to have it on a mouse, so I could sit there editing with one hand and swirling wine in the other. But
yes, exactly.
So continuing on the podcasty theme then, there's some recommendations for audio whilst you're working from home. And to sort of set this up, for me, living in a house with other people, it's become especially clear to me that you can't be too selfish with your use of the airwaves. Like, everybody in the house can't be using speakers at the same time, unfortunately, because I'm using speakers all the time. It's good to have headphones or earphones or something that can kind of take you out of your surroundings, especially if it's noisy and you have a massive German Shepherd at the end of your street, like I do, who's very angry at everyone who's outside.
Who can blame him? He's socially distant. He's starting to lose it. I think some of these recommendations are good. Obviously, as audio geeks, we can kind of have fairly strong opinions on a lot of it. I would strongly recommend that nobody ever buys a Blue Snowball ever, which is a microphone that they recommend. Please don't do that. Please buy a Samson or a Audio-Technica ATR 2100. I won't go into it any more than that, but just, skip that one. The Bose noise cancelling headphones, I've never tried. I actually find noise cancelling really weird. Have you ever tried it? Like, it's like being in an anechoic chamber. They're like slightly unnerving. I find it slightly unnervingly quiet.
I don't know. I quite like it. I'm very aware that sometimes, even when I step out into the back garden, the sound of tyres on the motorway half a mile away, you can still hear, and I'm kind of sick of it. So it might be worth a go.
Yeah, right. And I not a massive fan of Beats headphones as a brand. They're kind of a bit overpriced for what they do. I think the Sony ones, you mentioned some Sony ones earlier, which are half the price and probably better quality.
Yes, there are the Sony XM series. They're the WF1000, which are like these in-ear buds that are noise cancelling. And then the WH1000 XM3s are the over-ear headphones, which also do noise cancelling. And I think they are slightly cheaper than the Bose ones. I say this because I'm talking myself into buying a pair of them, so I am biased.
If you want permission, Alex, you can buy yourself some nice new headphones.
But I think, as a general rule, Sony is quite safe for consumer headphones and things like that.
Yeah, they're awesome. I've got loads of pairs of Sony headphones over the years, and they're always really solid. And I think just the Beats brand is obviously that kind of, they position themselves as the premium brand, and so you're paying more for actually what I think are lower quality headphones.
So that's it for today's episode. Do you have any stories about working from home that you'd like to share with us? Tips you'd like to hear? Or topics you'd like us to have a conversation about? Email us, wfh@lowerstreet.co. That's wfh@lowerstreet.co. Remember to subscribe and share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it. And join us for new content every weekday.